Morning, all viewers. We talked about leadership in the earlier video, and here I want to compare two leaders of two generations to understand how these leaders were different and how these leaders were also similar in many ways. We talked about in our earlier video the qualities of a good leader, successful leader, and here is an opportunity for me to discuss something and share something with you all. Two great leaders in the corporate world. You would have definitely heard about Steve Jobs, the former CEO of Apple, late CEO of Apple, and Jack Welch, the man who transformed GE to greater heights. Let's understand certain things between these two people in terms of their delivery, their perspective, and how they harnessed the leadership qualities within their teams, and what sort of idea they had in developing an organization of a large size like GE as well as Apple. Understand from the standpoint of view of how leadership is going to make a huge difference in an organization. So first, let's talk about Steve Jobs. As all of you know, he was not one of those light leaders initially. Steve Jobs, as you know, you would have definitely studied or you would have gone through the biography written by Walter, wherein he clearly indicates that Steve was a college dropout from Reed College, and he went into calligraphy, and later on he got interested in technology and moved on to technology, and he wanted to give the best to the world. A dreamer, basically. So Steve Jobs began his journey of leadership as a dreamer. But understand one thing, he was very, very clear in his mind what he is going to deliver to this world. Yes, he was a college dropout, but understand his vision and reiteration of the vision every time he discussed with his team members. His core passion and the values he had as a great leader. People with passion can incredibly be effective on many people in the team. That is what Steve Jobs stands for even today. He had an inspiring way of looking at and his team members especially, and he always inspired people with his vision, which was actually a dream when he started his career as a leader. He was also ruthless in cutting product lines. That made him a real competitor in the real world. He always believed in bringing in great products with great technologies and innovation, cutting edge technology in everything he did in Apple. He was also a charismatic leader, and he was inspiring, and he was also impacting many people across the globe. So when you look up a leadership, we are talking about a man like Steve Jobs who transformed everything in the world, connecting the dots to the technology, cutting edge technology, and also on the innovation. So he believed in changing the whole world order with passion, and he made everything possible, including dream. He also believed in a real competition to actually create a fire in the belly for innovation and new things in his own organization, Apple. So he believed in creating enemies. So he created Microsoft, IBM, and then he had driven the internal organization of Apple and scaled it to a greater heights which nobody can really think of. He was always emotionally charged, and he had a conviction and confidence in whatever he talked about, and whatever he talked, he delivered. So this is Steve Jobs. So when we look at And look back, the great company called General Electric, they were into a lot of product lines in late 80s. Maybe around 90 companies were there, and they were also manufacturing television in those days, where Japanese were actually manufacturing quality television and selling in New York at a price which was ridiculous, and GE could not compete with them. So Jack Welch was responsible for closing down many businesses, and he looked at an inner circle and an outer circle. Inner circle, he was focusing on those companies he had core competence. And Jack Welch also, look at his history. He was not one of the light leaders earlier. He worked in the plastic industry as an engineer, trainee engineer, and he was doing fantastic. And he left that business when he was given an increment equal to all other engineers who were not at par with him. And he moved towards New York, and then he moved towards GE, and then he became a successful leader the world has ever produced. Jack Welch always believed in winning everything. Winning everything was the fundamental way of looking at business. That means he was a leader with difference, that if you are not winning, then you should not be competing there. So he has closed down many businesses. As I told you in the beginning, almost 63 businesses is closed down because GE did not have core competence in these fields, and they were not really making enough money to survive. So he brought in a concept of you have to go either number one or number two or exit. So this strategy worked very well for GE, and GE expanded globally in many new businesses as well. He also believed in enjoying people's success in every possible way. Create that excitement in people so that they deliver the best, and tell them very clearly if they're not performing straight. Means there is a story always talked about, about Jack Welch, when he mentioned, if at all I have to ask somebody who is not performing to get out of the organization, he was straight. So he was mentioning somewhere in the book called Straight from the Gut. Most of you would have read it, where he mentions, Mary, you can go today. And Mary said, why Mary? Why not others? And he was straight, saying that you are the worst performing employee here, so you must go. So this is how his leadership quality was straight from the heart. And it was very, very straight, and he was cutting like an axe. But that's a different type of leadership. When you talk about Steve Jobs, he was also ruthless, cutting product lines. But he was a people's man, and people believed in his vision and his dreams. And when you come back to Jack Welch, he was very, very clear that every leader must every day pump self-confidence every morning. Means when you come to your desk, you deliver 100% and you stretch others to deliver boundaryless. So you also brought in a concept of boundaryless organization. Go beyond what you are capable of. Stretch. If someone is asking to deliver, your manager is asking to deliver a target, always ensure that it exceeds the target. If you just deliver what your manager wants, then you can't be a leader. So every time you surpass the target set in by your manager, then one day you will occupy that seat. That was a concept Jack Welch firmly believed in. He also said very clearly that to get into the root of the culture, get the culture right. If the culture is not right, you are going nowhere. You can have thousands of spreadsheets. It doesn't make any difference in the organization. So you must get the culture right. So culture is performance is critical. You must deliver stretch goals. You must go boundaryless. And you must always be more than 100% in your delivery. Jack Welch very interestingly also believed in a culmination of strategy, execution, and people. They all move together, and that actually brings the winning ways, and that did bring winning ways for GE. So today we talked about two great leaders of two generations, Jack Welch the senior and Steve Jobs. Thank you very much for watching this video, and wait for some more videos to come on leadership.